All right, guys, and we are back with the Ruthlessly Curious podcast. And on today's episode, I have the one and only Brett Maddocks. Brett, welcome to the show.
What's up, man? It's good to be here.
Listen, man. All right, so obviously, one of the great things about what I do is I have the opportunity to build relationships with people. Right. But it's one of the cool things is like we offer fitness services, but it's sort of a sleight of hand.
Right.
Like, we get you in the door,
Right.
And I tell people all the time, people come for the fitness, but they stay for the community.
That's right.
And I'm just going to let you introduce yourself.
Yeah.
I want you to tell everybody who you are, what you do.
Yeah.
And then we're going to jump right in, okay?
I love it that you said you do the kind of sleight of hand. Sometimes that's how I feel about church. And so if people don't know, I'm a pastor here in the community, and a friend of mine in another community, he and I used to talk about how church was a lot of smoke and mirrors, but not in a negative way. It was a way of get people in and then introduce them to community, introduce them to faith in Christ, introduce them to new life and all that kind of stuff, and then they want to stay for that. Like, that's what that is. And so when you talk about like sleight of hand, fitness as being this thing to introduce people to community, I love that. I resonate with that so much. I got involved in this about a year ago. I was the heaviest I've ever been. I was 290 pounds. So I'm 6 feet tall, and I was 290 pounds. So if you ever listen to the Dan Patrick Show, that's when you get beefy, I was very heavy. I was out of shape. I was winded. I wasn't sleeping well. I'm on blood pressure medication. Like, there's all this kind of stuff going on. Heart disease in my family and all that. So I had actually looked into pharmaceutical stuff, the things you see on TV and hear about, but my insurance company wouldn't pay for it. So I was like, well, I'm not going to spend a mortgage payment on a monthly shot or whatever. And so a friend at the church, he said, well, you just need to come over to the gym, to the CrossFit gym. And I was like, I am not going to become one of those CrossFit bros. I'm just going to tell you this right now. I'm not flipping tractor tires. I'm not waving the double ropes and all that kind of stuff and going around and doing all my macros and this kind of thing. I'm not becoming a CrossFit bro. But then my wife said, I think you need to go do something like this. Eric, I already had a gym membership. I was a member of another gym here in town, paying $10 a month. And let me just tell you, that's the best money I was paying not to go to the gym. So
that's how they make their money, right?
Yeah, right. So that wasn't really working. I didn't have that motivation, and I didn't have that accountability. Yeah. And so I said, once my wife kind of concurred with my friend, I said, okay, I'm going to try it out. I've got to do something. And met with Mitch, and just really from that point on a year ago, it's just been, you're right. The thing I love about the gym, about CrossFit DGA is the coaching is great. Y'all work with me. You knew kind of where my level was and how to get me to where I needed to go. You were kind, but you also pushed me, and like that's all that kind of good stuff that you do on accountability and growing. But then, but it was the community. I mean, the people I've met, the friends that I've met. I count you not just as a coach, but as a friend. Mitchell as well, and so and others in the community, just the people I've met. You're right. It's the community that keeps me going. It's the community that keeps me coming back. And so I'm happy to say, after a year, I am a CrossFit bro, man. Listen, I'm tracking my macros. I'm doing my So.
But for the record, can you tell people how many times you've actually flipped a tractor tire?
None. No tractor tires at this CrossFit gym. So yeah.
So I'll never forget. I went to a meeting. This has probably been a couple of years ago, and I was at this table, and so there was a guy at the table, a little bit older gentleman, and you go around the table and you tell people who you are and what you do,
right? And
he looks at me and he's like, why do you guys run around that building and flip those tractor tires and put boxes over your head?
Yeah.
And I was like, why do people assume so much about what it is that we do? But it's really cool. Like, you had the curiosity to go deeper and to ask a deeper question, or to have your wife like speak into that as well, which is what a great wife always does. Well, let's do this. So remind me, who did your one-on-ones?
It was Mitchell.
So Mitchell did all the one-on-ones.
Yes.
And so just for the record, so one of the things that we do with all of our new clients coming in it's our way. Number one, it's our way to build the relationship,
right?
But it's also our way to kind of slow drip fitness into your body,
right,
so to speak, so that we can kind of get you to a place where you can come to the group classes,
right?
And so I wanted to make sure that people understand like our process of how we bring people in the door,
right?
It's probably very similar to how you get people in the door at church, right?
100%. Yeah, that's exactly right. I mean, a good church is going to, when you come get in the door, they're going to put people on you. Like they're going to be like, here's where the bathrooms are. Here's where the children's ministry is. Here's where the youth ministry is. Here's where the sanctuary, fellowship hall. Like they're going to navigate all this. And then they're going to also navigate pathways of discipleship. Like here's the next steps for you of, following Jesus, getting baptized, getting in a small group, whatever those type of things in. You're going to have people apprenticing you into the life of the church. And that's exactly what happened. In fact, I've thought about, I've started writing an article for an online Christian magazine that I follow on how CrossFit and discipleship go hand in, like what the things I've learned about discipleship from being part of CrossFit and the CrossFit DGA particularly. And so I've got some things that have been mulling all over in my mind. And the big part of that is the apprenticeship part of this. I mean, that's what y'all do. Those 4 weeks with Mitchell, he was just apprenticing me. He was showing me the stuff. He was like, here's how you do a deadlift, but here's how you do a deadlift right,
Right.
And here's how, and I tell you one of the things I love, I was having some issues with my lower back, and he was like, well, do this, and he showed me a stretch. Man, I never knew about a stretch like that for my lower back.
Right.
And it was fine. So those 4 weeks were crucial for me.
And it's so interesting, the parallels as we talk about whether we're working on our physical fitness or our spiritual fitness, right? So I think it's fascinating to think about how we can start to make these very small changes physically, right? And then those physical changes carry over into the other areas of our life.
100%.
Right. And you can also do it spiritually.
Yeah.
Right. And so I think that it's so interesting how we can move the needle in both directions at one time,
right? Just
by making one small change.
One small change, right?
Right. So do you want to dive deeper into anything else as it relates to?
Yeah, sure. So let me just, I always like telling kind of victory stories too. So a year ago I was 290, and now I'm at about 264.
Okay.
So, but I can tell that I'm stronger. My endurance is better. My heart, my cardio, is so much stronger. I can run and not die.
And that's huge.
That's huge.
Being able to move your own body weight.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Being able to be comfortable with my body weight, doing, I hate burpees, but I do them because, but everybody hates burpees, right? But I can do them now, and I can. I tell you, one of the things that really got me was completing. Now I had to modify it, but completing a Murph challenge this year in under an hour.
Yeah.
I would never have been able to do that.
And you also modified Murph to a degree.
Right, I did.
Ring rows instead of pull-ups.
That's right.
Maybe.
I did, and bike instead of
running. Run.
Yeah.
Okay, so just for the record, so just to make sure that everybody understands, so Murph is a workout that is done. Right. We do it every Memorial Day.
Right.
It is named after Lieutenant Michael Murphy, who served in Afghanistan. He was killed in action in Operation Red Wing, and there's a workout named after him. It's called Murph, and what it is it's a 1 mile run into 100 pull-ups, 200 push-ups, 300 air squats into another 1 mile run. Right.
And so I modified it. Mitchell modified it for me to a 3,200 meter bike ride.
Yep.
And then I did ring rows. And then I did push-ups and squats, and then I did another 3,200 meter bike ride.
And that's beautiful. And I think this is something that's so important, is just being able to modify the workout based off of where you are.
Right.
And I think that's another, and this is, I mean, I'm telling you, it's so relatable to the church.
No doubt.
Right. So like being able to figure out where you are, starting where you are, starting there, not where you want to be.
Right, exactly.
And I think so much of what happens in our culture is we try to consume way too much at one time.
Yeah.
We take on way too much at one time, whether it's at church or work or either at the gym, versus that slow drip method that we know can work.
Right. I would, in fact, it's funny you mentioned that because, so I was having a moment in the gym. When I first started at the gym, I was doing 2 to 3 days pretty regularly. Every now and then I'll do a fourth day. Well, what ends up happening in that is I found my consistency started dropping off. Okay. Because life was getting in the way and I was making excuses. So there was about a 3-month period there that I was good to make it 2 to 3 days a week. Within the last 6 weeks or so, I just felt led that I needed to really, because what was happening was I started making excuses in other areas of my life, in work life, church life, like it's just all that kind of stuff. Things were falling by the wayside, and I was just making excuses. And my excuse was always, I'm too busy. Well, I did a time audit. I sat down with a piece of paper. And I just, how many hours did I sleep? And then how many hours did I actually work? And I found that I had something like, 4 to 5 wasted hours a day, which you put that over 7 days, and that is, 28 to 30 hours, 35 hours of wasted time a week. And so I was like, I've got to just do better on my time management and my time. And it comes down to putting things on calendar and being disciplined to just stick to routine, stick to the plan. So in the month of September, we're just now out of September, out of 30 days in September, I was either at the gym or I was moving. I was running in my neighborhood 27 days out of 30 days. And what has happened is my whole perspective on time management has changed. Like I'm in a new place where I'm recalendaring, I'm reworking on priorities. I took a to-do list that I had that was, the thing about to-do lists for me is I'll write it out. I'll have like 40 things on my to-do list, but I never accomplish any of them. I just look at it.
Right.
And then by the end of the week, I'm looked at this non-accomplished to-do list, and I just feel bad about myself. Like, it just really gets to me. So a couple weeks ago, I deleted it. I didn't write anything off of it. I didn't say, I need to remember that. I just deleted the to-do list, and it was refreshing. It was scary because there were some very important things on there that I need to do. But I had a friend tell me, if it's important, you'll know it. Like it'll come back to you. Someone will contact you and say, hey, where's this thing? And you go, okay, I got to work on that. And now you know what your priorities are. And then you can schedule your week out and you can include that and work on that priority. And you're not so bogged down in the weeds of the things that are not important and not urgent. And that you need. Anyway, so the gym has just being more dedicated to, okay, if I'm going to be dedicated to this, I got to be dedicated to this. If I'm going to put 90 minutes into working out at the gym, I've got to be sure that I get my work done here too, because that's 90 minutes here that I can't use here. So it's just is making me relook at the way I look at my calendar, the way I look at work, and to try to be more efficient and just get the job done so I can still spend time with my family and do the things that I need to do there. So
I love that.
Yeah, it's been helpful for me in that. And it all stemmed from about 4 or 5 months ago. Now, I talk to the Lord a lot when I'm in the gym. Usually it's like, oh, God, make this stop. Usually that's right. what I'm talking to. But I was doing maybe it was I can't remember if it was like a power clean or a deadlift or whatever. And I heard the Lord speak to me in the gym. And it was, if you're putting the time into you, why aren't you putting the time into me? And he wasn't telling me to stop going to the gym. He was just telling me, get your priorities straight. Recalibrate. And so that's what I've been doing is I've been in a period of recalibration.
And just as you're sitting there talking, I've been thinking, because I told this to a client the other day, I'm in a very interesting season of life where I've started to think about consequences differently.
Yeah.
And I've started to think, maybe there are only trade-offs and there are no consequences.
Interesting. Yeah.
And I'm not saying
you could have negative trade-offs and positive trade-offs. Interesting.
And so you're taking one time slot and filling it in with something that's less productive.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying? And I think at the end of the day, this all came from, you said this, and I love this, that time audit.
Yeah.
So did somebody hit you with that?
Yeah, I've got
Okay.
So I'm going through a coaching thing, a discipleship coaching thing through an organization called Narrowgate.
Yep.
And one of their pieces to this is they spend a lot of time getting us to understand how to manage our time, because most people are bad at time management. Yeah. Even people who think they're great at it are really bad at time management. But if you look at the most successful people, like your Fortune 500 CEOs, and those people who have built things and who have just really become extremely successful.
Right.
They're great at time management. That is the secret to their sauce. It's not ingenuity. It's not go-get-itness. It's time management. They know how to use their time very, very, very well. And so, and this is tried and true. Like this, there's been time management gurus who have put all this together, and so it's all about knowing how to use certain tools to be able to manage your time well, so that you would have time for family, time for hobbies and stuff like that, and also time to get the job done and to produce and to do what needs to be done. And so that is kind of what I'm working on now, is how to be a better time manager. Yeah.
Well, I know this too, just because in a position of leadership, you're always pouring in.
Yes.
Right. And so you got to have things
or
tools that are pouring into you as well.
Right.
So you continue to have a full cup to pour for.
100%.
To pour from.
Yeah. So like one of the things, one of the tools, there's 1,000 tools out there. What you got to do is you got to find the tools that are good for you. It's kind of like
the right
CrossFit,
tool for the right job.
Right? You got right tool, and it's like modification. You've got to modify it to fit your thing. So we were in a cohort meeting with Narrowgate, and they were talking about. So what I've used to do was I have my calendar, I'd have it filled up, but then I'd have open spots. And so then what I would try to do is fill those open spots with other things to do. And what would happen is those things would never get done, because the way, like in my industry, like ministry, is things always get, distractions always come about and all this kind of stuff, right? And so also, I realized that from about 6 a.m. to 1 p.m. is my most productive time.
100%.
2 p.m. to 4 p.m. my brain does not work. That's when I go to. That's why when I started at CrossFit, I started in the mornings.
Yeah.
But most of the time now I'm coming in the afternoons because my brain's dead. I can't do any more at the office. So I just try to knock out as much. Like if I can have a productive 4 hours in the office or doing church stuff, meetings, going to this stuff, then I'm golden. I'm golden. So what I've started doing is taking my calendar and letting the calendar work for me. So like Mondays are just going to be administration days, because Mondays I'm dead from Sunday. Like I'm so drained from Sunday. Administration work is a life suck for me. I hate administration work, and my brain is not in productivity mode on Monday. So I just knock out all my administrative work on Monday. I don't take meetings. I don't do anything else on Mondays. I just do office work and knock it out. And then Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, I can do meetings, I can do study for sermons, I can do that kind of stuff. I can do my most productive work preparing for Sunday and for future stuff going on. And then Fridays are off day for me. So
I love that.
So what I did is I stopped filling in holes, and I just started saying, this is what's going to happen on this day, and this is what's going to happen on this day. And so my calendar now looks a lot different than it used to.
And you sort of batch the days.
That's right. Batch the days. Right.
Based off of where you know you can be most productive and what needs to be done by a certain amount of time.
Right.
And I do think, just bringing it back to, you said something else. You talked about distractions.
Yeah.
And that's something that is just rampant in our culture.
100%.
And how do you limit distractions?
I'm growing in that area. I would love to take, if anybody would like to tell me. So what I'm trying to do is I know that I'm going to want to look at Instagram or Facebook. So I'm trying to limit my time on that.
Yep.
So 10 or 15 minutes, I'm almost treating it like I only allow myself 10 minutes to look at emails every day.
Okay.
When I go into the office, I literally set a timer for 10 minutes, and I go through my emails. When the timer goes off, I close the email box. That means there's going to be some emails that don't get answered. Here's what I learned about emails that don't get answered. If it's important, they'll email you back. they always will email you back.
My wife is going to have
yes,
a
they will always email you back. I tell y'all this. So I have it where when I go on vacation, when we do our family vacation, I set up a thing where all my emails will go right into a vacation folder. When I come home, I usually have about 800 emails in that folder. I just delete the folder. I don't even look at it. Now, some of the people listening to this are going, no. Yeah. No. So here's what I do. The message that people get in that, when they email, the automatic message that comes to them is, I'm out of the office until such and such date. If this is an important email me back on this date.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Yeah. I tell them what to do.
Yeah.
So then when I come back, I just basically go delete and it's done. And I just trust
that they read.
Yeah. They read. And if they even didn't do that and didn't follow through, if it's very important, they will get back in touch with me and I'll be like, okay, well, I'll take care of that. And usually I've only had 1 or 2 times where I was like, well, that I had to apologize or whatever. Most of the time, but they consider a crisis or a important whatever, it's not. It's something that can be handled later on. So anyway, so that's one of the things I learned to do a couple years ago. I started doing that. Yep. And so all I'm doing now is I'm just really just trying to make the calendar work for me and not against me.
100%.
And so with distractions, I'm starting to treat them like emails.
Yeah.
Set a timer. I'm going to spend 10 minutes on Facebook. Set a timer. 10 minutes is up, off. 10 minutes goes by fast.
Yes, it does.
Goes by fast. But then it just the accountability to that, and it's just good because then you can move on. You've got kind of you've seen who's got birthdays and whatever conspiracy theories are out there, and you can move on after that. You had your little fun and you've been triggered, and now you can go and take care of it.
Pray for.
That's exactly right. But it's I try to do that. But distractions, but even with that, distractions still come, and that sometimes they're just natural. In the church world, big distraction for us 100%. Are funerals and people dying or sick or having to run to the hospital. But those are also distractions that are part of the job.
Right.
And so you know that. And if you know that, you set up systems in place to kind of, okay, so-and-so is about to die. I've got to go be with them. Then you delegate and you say, hey, I need, or you just put on hold. You say, sometimes distractions cause you to put something on hold, and that's fine.
Right. Well, and I will say this too, just in terms of shepherding. I mean, you're in a huge leadership role.
Yeah.
Right. And at the end of the day, what I want people to take away from some of these conversations is leadership fatigue is a real thing.
100%. Yes.
Right. And so taking care of your heart, mind, body, and soul.
Right.
It does require work.
Yeah.
And I say too that the D in discipline stands for decisions.
Yes, it does.
And you have to make decisions
every day.
So how do you navigate leadership fatigue? Because everybody can.
Yeah.
Whenever you have energy, everything's great.
Right.
But how do you navigate leadership fatigue?
That's a great question. And I think that's also a growing edge for me. I try to have a day that I'm not doing anything, that I'm not, when I say not doing anything, that I'm not in the office, or I'm not having to make big decisions, or I'm not in a meeting. Usually that's my Fridays. Yeah. And so Fridays are what I call my day off, or my Sabbath day. And then Saturday is just time with my family. Now, sometimes those get eaten up by funerals or weddings or stuff like that, but those are fun too. The funerals aren't fun, but you understand the weddings are. Yeah. So, but a big thing as I have found too is the gym time has been time for personal time. That's Brett's time. I get phone calls all the stinking time when I'm in the gym, all the time. I just let it go because I'm only in there an hour and a half. And then I'm going and I'm leaving. And so, I'll get back to them, and it's fine. So leadership fatigue is it's still a growing edge for me, but I'm getting better at it. And part of that is when you schedule your calendar out, when you do your days, when you say, okay, Mondays I will not schedule a meeting on Monday. I don't do lunch meetings. I don't do any meetings on Mondays. I don't have church meetings on Mondays. I won't. Even if a committee schedules one, I'll just say, I don't need to be there, do I? Good. Well, I'm not going to be there. So I'll go to a meeting on a Tuesday or a Thursday, but I'm not going to go to a meeting on a Monday. And then Wednesdays, are my study days, getting ready for sermons, writing sermons. So like the morning time, I don't schedule meetings in the morning time on Wednesdays because I'm prepping sermon. And so, you making the calendar work for me and being disciplined in that that's just kind of the helpful thing for the decisions. Like I had to make a decision. Now, for a lot of leaders, or the biggest piece, the reason why there is such leadership fatigue is they feel like that the organization or the thing, it needs them.
Their identity.
Their identity is tied up in that. Now, this is a little different because you're an entrepreneur. So your identity is tied into CrossFit because you started CrossFit. Right. CrossFit DGA has been around for how long?
Which I'm working hard to.
I understand.
But keep going. I like this.
So CrossFit DGA has been around for how long?
It's 2009. Well, we affiliated in 2011. So I would say we kind of started in 2010.
10. Okay. So 15 years.
Yeah.
All right. So that's great. So your organization is a adolescent, right? And so it still has your identity tied to it. It's like if a church plant has their first pastor there, that church plant's going to have the identity of their church or their first pastor. My church, my organization has had, I don't know, something like 13 pastors in the 70 years it's been here. Okay. The identity of my church cannot be based on me. But I would also say the identity of CrossFit for it to be successful, cannot be based on you, because what's going to happen with CrossFit DGA when you retire? Yep. Will it retire too? And we would hope that it wouldn't, that it would continue on this legacy, right? Well, the same as with the church or any leadership role. The reason why leadership fatigue is such a big deal is because the leader has put their identity into the organization, and they don't believe that organization can continue without them. And so they pour everything into it. So this is why you got workaholics. Yep. This is why you got high divorce rates among entrepreneurs. This is why you've got kids who don't know their fathers and their mothers who start a business because their parents pour everything into that business and nothing into their families. And so for me, it is about identity. It is about, this is something I've had to learn because I'm a natural workaholic. Yep. But the reason I'm a natural workaholic is because I don't want to let people down. And I figure if they see me working hard, they'll love me. And I've had to grow out of that and understand they're going to probably love me anyway. Wow. They're probably going to love me anyway, as long as I love them. And by the way, I can only love them well if I'm there. And I can't be there if I'm laid up in a hospital with a heart attack or with anxiety attacks or whatever's happening because I haven't taken time to rest and to Sabbath and to grow. I'm saying all this as somebody who's got it all together. I don't, by the way. This is a learning.
But you're speaking to my heart right now, right?
So in February of 2022,
okay,
I was in another organization. I was in another church in Columbus, Georgia.
Okay.
And where I had been for 13 years. I was the executive pastor of that church. And it was a huge church and had lots of going on. And I just poured my life into that church. Just making sure it was doing, anyway, I poured my life into that. In February 2022, I was in the emergency room. I thought I was having a heart attack. I was at that time, I'm 46, so in 2022, I was 43 years old. Thinking I was having a heart attack. Now, it turns out it was just an anxiety. It was an anxiety attack. My very first anxiety attack. My body had decided it had had enough. And it was just pinging. At that moment, while I'm laying there in the ER, I'm thinking, something's got to give. I have a friend here in town who reminds me all the time, something is always going to give. And it's either going to be your job or your body or your family. Right. So you've got to make decisions to keep that from happening.
And I'm just perfectly honest, at the end of the day, I don't consider myself an anxious person, but when you start looking at all the roles and responsibilities, and then even I'm not a pastor. I've had a friend ask me if I considered myself one, and I told him no, and he said, what did he say? He was like, "Well, you're shepherding people."
Yeah, you are. Yeah,
and so one of the things that can be difficult, right, is trying to navigate all the different roles and responsibilities and and trying to look like you have it all together.
Oh, 100, yes.
Right? And I'm telling you that from experience as well.
Yeah.
And that in and of itself will create
yes, it does.
that negative feedback loop, whether it's depression, anxiety,
right.
worry, fear.
Right.
Because I think at the end of the day, and I don't want to say that there's no failure in. Somebody told me one time that there's no failure in the kingdom of God, right? And I'm really trying to wrap my head around that.
Yeah.
And I truly, like, I'm an entrepreneur, so it's a little different when I try to put it through that lens.
Yeah.
But the last thing you ever want to do is have something be successful that has your name attached to it, back to the identity piece.
Yes.
And then for it all of a sudden to be considered not successful.
That's right.
Right.
That's right. You know, if there is failure in the kingdom of God, it's from our point and it's not from Jesus's point. Like, Jesus is always victorious as the King of Kings and Lord of Lords, but we've all sinned and fallen short of God's glory. And so that is, any failure that happens is always going to be from us. And it's going to be from us taking our eyes off Jesus, taking our eyes off the mission, and it's very easy to do that. I think about what Paul says in Romans 7, that which I want to do, I don't do. And that which I don't want to do, well, I do it. And discipline. That's right. And so he's speaking to this. It's very natural for us to destroy others and to destroy ourselves. The supernatural thing, the Holy Spirit thing, is to truly be alive in Him and to let Him bear our burdens and be the one who truly forgives us of our sins, and empowers us to be the people we were created to be, not who we are, who we were created to be. And so, this is all just kind of life lessons that I've learned and am learning. So, when I was in seminary, we were taught in preaching to not share too much of yourself, not to share too in the pulpit, because the reason behind it was shine the light on Jesus, not yourself.
Oh yeah.
Don't make
like a self-righteous.
Right, that's right. Don't make yourself the hero. Make Jesus the hero.
Yeah.
The problem with that is we leaders, we preachers, we are fallible human beings who are on a similar journey as our congregation is. And our congregation needs to understand that failure is real, but so is forgiveness. That sin is very real, but so is righteousness. That anxiety is a very real thing, but so is peace. And the way I look at it is, if I can be vulnerable to my flock, then they can grow from that. If they can see where I'm growing, they can have permission to grow themselves, right? And so I'm actually trying to reimagine the preaching process of saying, let me be vulnerable to you guys. Let me tell you how I am a very real person, and that you're a very real person, but Jesus is also very real. And here's how He's impacting my life, and here's how He's impacting your life. I told a story one time. I have a very broken background, and I have a big forgiveness issue with a family member who was very abusive, and to me. And I remember standing in the pulpit preaching on Jesus, talking about forgiveness. No, I tell you to forgive 70 times. Forgive all the time, basically. And I remember standing in that pulpit and saying to them, after really telling them my story, I can't stand here and give you a heartwarming, hey, I've forgiven this person, and we're reconciled to each other, and we have coffee once a week, and all this kind of stuff, whatever. I haven't forgiven them. I don't want to forgive them, but maybe I'm open to the idea. And that was the end of the sermon. That was the most vulnerable I've ever been.
Yeah.
And so at that point, having people come up to me and just saying that, A, it spoke to them, but B, it gave them permission. Like, it almost opened them up to say, forgiveness really is an important piece to this, isn't it? And I was like, yeah, that's right. So vulnerability is important, whether you're in your role, being vulnerable, and or if you're in my role, being vulnerable and showing people the grace of God and mercy of God and how God works. People need to see that.
And I love that. And, so it just reminds me that, everything falls on a continuum.
Right.
Right. And forgiveness and reconciliation are not the same things.
They are not.
Right. And I think at the end of the day, when we start to look at things on a continuum, and we can see, because you were giving the sort of the sin and the joy,
right,
and then just the inversion of each piece. And if we put that on a continuum, and we start to ask the Lord, what do you want me to know, and what do you want me to do? Then it can move us from one part of the continuum,
right,
if it's perceived as negative.
That's right.
To the redemptive,
right,
to the creating peace and joy and hope and love in a person, that's Jesus, right? And so working through that, but that's hard.
It is hard. That's why things like discipleship is so important, and apprenticeship. So like in the CrossFit world, you and Mitchell and your coaches, y'all are taking groups of people who are on various journeys of their health, they're in various places on their health journey, right? You got people like me who's still kind of in that novice area. You've got others in there who are just throwing weights around like they're, 5-pound bags of sugar. It's the craziest thing I've ever seen. But we're all on these different places. I think about like the High Rocks thing that's coming up. I was talking to Mitchell about it. I was like, explain this to me. And he explains this to me. And I was like, oh my gosh, you telling me that makes me want to lay down on the floor in a fetal position. But people are on this different, they're on a different continuum. They're on a different scale. They're on a different kind of place in their relationship with the Lord. Discipleship, much like with you guys working with and trying to take them to where you see them going, but having to start where they are. Discipleship's just like that, right? It's making us into the image of Jesus. That's all discipleship does. And so what we try to do in the church world in discipling is figure out where people are. So y'all figured out where I was just by interviewing me, right? Yep. How much exercise have you ever done? Have you ever lifted a weight? Have you ever done this? So you could start off, let's walk from here to the light post and back and see how winded you are from walking. We'll have a good idea from what's happening there. What I do is I just talk to people, see where they are. Are you new in your faith? Have you been going, did you go to church as a kid and stop going to church? Do you have any idea what the Bible is? Can you show me where the book of Genesis is? Like
sure.
That helps me get an idea.
100%. I
also do a thing where I've started doing a thing. Jesus said in Matthew 4:19, he says, if you would, follow me, come, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. Right? So in that, you can kind of see that there are 4 responses to this call from Jesus to come, follow him, and he will make us fishers of men. There's a call of salvation, that's to come to him. So, if I'm talking to somebody, is that where you are? Are you there? There's the call of lordship, the come, follow him. When you follow Jesus, you're making him Lord of your life, when you're following him. Right behind lordship is the call to discipleship, becoming like him. So come follow me and I will make you. Letting him make you into the person you were created to be. And then there's the call of purpose, or there's the piece, the responding in purpose. Come follow me and I will make you fishers of men. You will live this out. So when I'm talking to somebody trying to figure out where they are in their spiritual journey, I might just say, Jesus says, come follow me and I'll make you fishers of men. Here's what this looks. How do you respond to that? Are you here, 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 or here? Are you at salvation, lordship, discipleship, or purpose? Most people in the church are at salvation, but not lordship. They haven't made Jesus Lord yet. They've gotten their fire insurance, but they haven't made that lordship. Jesus didn't stop at, come to me and I will keep you out of hell. He said, come, follow me, and I will make you fishers of men. There's a purpose behind that. And so it helps me have a conversation when I have a conversation with people about where they are in their walk with the Lord, just to figure out, I use that as a tool to figure out where they are, so I know where to start with them. If they just got saved, I'm not going to go deep into like revelation with them.
Right. Oh, yeah.
I'm not, but what I am going to do is teach them what the Bible is. I'm going to teach them how to read it, how to study it. I'm going to teach them how to obey it, how to memorize scripture, those type of things, just very basic things.
Sure.
If they've been winning souls and making disciples themselves, all I'm doing is just encouraging them and saying, here's some tools for you to keep doing what you're doing.
That's right.
Yeah. So it's the same kind of idea.
And I love that. I've never heard it articulated like that. Yeah. And I don't want to mess this up, but in Sunday school, a couple of Sundays ago, we were talking about like your the default setting.
Yeah.
Right. And when something happens
Yeah.
in the world, like somebody attacks my character or somebody
Right.
does something silly to my wife or to my kids or whatever, I don't respond with scripture first.
Yeah.
Right. The first thing
Right.
I do is like, you got to be kidding me.
Yeah.
And then it's anyways, my point to that is like, how do you encourage your flock to have that default setting and I mean, is it just being disciplined enough for scripture, memorizing scripture so that when the storm comes, it's like, okay, God's got this.
That's
this
exactly,
okay.
Yeah, I mean, that's absolutely right. Well, we got to first realize what our default setting is. That's the first thing, right? Yep. We got to understand we've all sinned and fallen short of God's glory. Every one of us.
But how dare someone sin against me?
Yeah, how dare. Everybody has.
Yeah.
Once you do that, by the way, it helps you understand your default set, but also helps you understand the other person's default setting. Right. Why they're attacking, why they're doing. And this can be everything from being backstabbed to people wishing physical harm on you. I mean, everything comes from that. We've all sinned and fallen short of God's glory. But what we're trying to do is live into the image of God that is in each one of us. That image of God that's marred by sin, but Jesus comes to set it back right, to bring it to clarity in us. When you do that, then the tools become different for you. The mindset becomes, read the New Testament, you'll see some incredible things in there where the default setting truly does get changed, like in a person. So someone like James, you read the book of James, or Peter, let's take Peter.
Okay.
Peter's got letters, 1 Peter, 2 Peter.
Okay.
Peter will say in those letters that when someone attacks you, you don't attack them back, you wash their feet. Now, he's speaking to, so Christians in Peter's day were powerless slaves who worked for, or not worked, they lived in the households of pagan masters.
Okay.
And their pagan masters would treat them very, very cruelly. And so there was word getting back to Peter, hey, how do we rise up against these pagan masters? And Peter says, you don't rise up against them, you wash their feet. That's so different from our natural inclination.
I love that we've gone here. So tell me this. So modern day, I'm not saying we're not changing the translation. Yeah. I'm not saying we're not doing that. Yeah. My question is like, how do we interpret that in today's time? Like, what do we do with that?
So why would Peter say that? So this is going to answer that. Why would Peter say that? Well, remember what happens at the Garden of Gethsemane. Jesus prays in the Garden of Gethsemane. He's coming out of the garden. He's being arrested. He's betrayed by Judas. He's being arrested by these people who are going to take him on trial, beat him, put him on a cross. What does Peter do? Peter draws a sword, and he actually cuts off some guy's ear.
Yep.
What does Jesus do? Jesus says, put away the sword. If you live by the sword, you're going to die by the sword. When Peter, years later, writes to these Christians who are being mistreated by pagans, non-believers, he's going to go back to that moment in the garden, and he's going to remember Jesus' very words to him, put away the sword. So when he says wash feet, so basically what he's saying is your default setting is to fight, is to attack, is to hate, it's to be, is to revenge, it's to avenge. Those are your default settings. Paul, Peter, James, all these guys. Read in Romans 12, Paul writes that we are to, with our enemies, if your enemy is hungry, you feed your enemy. I mean, that's the hardest thing. Are you telling me the person who hates my guts, right? If he's hungry, I need to feed. Yeah. So in a modern way of looking at this is take seriously what Jesus did and take seriously what Jesus taught. We, the church, we Christians, the countercultural move for us, the counter world move for us is to act like Jesus. And, you know, I'm a true blue American man. You know, I don't want to look weak.
Right.
And for me, weakness has been meekness and humility has been twisted to look like weakness, but it's not. It is a way of winning over people to the Lord. It's a way. Now, humility is not like just, you know, humility is a spiritual warfare. It's a spiritual battle. It is a way of fighting in a different way. Paul will say in Ephesians that the real battle is not against flesh and blood, but against the spirits and in the spiritual realm. And once we realize that we really have no enemies, we have an enemy who wants to steal, kill, and destroy us, and that's Satan. But we have no enemy. There are broken people out there who.
That's right.
Who are and so in the kind of a modern way of looking at things, you're talking about like default settings, memorizing scripture, reading the life of Jesus, read the Gospels, read the Gospel of John or Gospel of Mark or Matthew, or Luke, any of those Gospels. Just read the Gospels. Then read one of the letters. Go to the 1st and 2nd Peter or James or someone like that. Read how they handle things. And if we're Bible-believing Christians, we've got to also be Bible-following Christians. And that's hard.
And one last thing I'll add to that.
Yeah.
And this is just to compliment everything that you just said. Be in community with other people that are doing that.
Yeah.
Because that will not elevate, that's not the word, but it will at least hold you accountable to a degree where when something happens, you can go to that person and be like, hey, man, listen, I got this thing going on. Can you help me? What do you think?
Oh, that's the great way to do it. Also, most of the problems we have with others tend to come out of a place of ignorance. And so, for example, I got an email not too long ago that was complaining about something. And so old Brett would have fired off an email, defending myself.
Did you justified?
Yeah. Defending myself and
defending
all this kind of stuff. Just I just kind of was like, you know what I'm going to do? I'm just going to let it sit. I'm not going to answer this right now. I don't do emails at 1 p.m. I do those in the morning time for 10 minutes.
Because they're batched.
That's right. They're batched. Like, I've got this. I'll get to this tomorrow.
I love it.
But you let it sit.
Yeah.
And then when you get to it, what I said was, I absolutely actually understand where you're coming from. I would love to talk to you about this in person. Because I said, I don't think texting or email is a good place to have this conversation. And the person was like, let's do it. Let's have a conversation. And it was great. It was awesome. It was wonderful. It worked out well.
Sure.
A friend of mine says, you want to starve the problem and feed the solution. Just take time. You don't have to knee-jerk react to everything.
That's right.
Knee-jerk reaction is going to cause more problems than it is find solutions. So starve the problem, feed the solution.
Feed the solution. I love that.
Yeah. So by starving the problem, you just let it go for a minute. You can just let it go. Another friend of mine, I was sharing this with him, and he was saying, yeah, there's sometimes I just don't even respond. Just let it die on the vine because it's not worth it. Yeah. Like you got to make a decision. Does this even,
That's right.
So now
that's a great point too.
Yeah. And there are people who want to do us harm, and there are people who will mistreat us. Paul says, you do not return evil with evil. Right. You do not return evil with evil. It is God's place to avenge. Vengeance is mine, says the Lord. You let the Lord handle it. And but there's the problem with letting the Lord handle it is it's not cathartic for us. Like we
to that point. So to that point, and I'll share this with you because I'm sure you've seen this in leadership.
Yeah.
Where someone will do something malicious under the guise of benevolence and say, well, I was just trying to help.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, listen, that gives me, when I say that out loud, it almost gives me the willies because I've had some experiences like that where it's like, okay, I'm not supposed to be the one judging whether this is malicious or not, right? That's not my job.
Yeah.
But when it starts to interfere with my community and my culture and my people, sorry, I get it. It's not mine.
Right.
It's God's.
That's right.
And we're trying to steward it.
That's right.
As good as we possibly can for the time that we have it. And so I get a little. I can start.
Oh yeah.
You see how my identity gets wrapped up in it really quick. Where it's mine.
Mine is But
at the end of the day, I want to guard. I want to guard and protect what's been given to us. And so, anyways, as you were sitting there talking, it's like you're throwing some coals in the fire for me as a
and you can protect and you can shepherd and you can be a good you can do those things without resorting to the patterns of this world.
That's right.
It's harder though. It's not natural for us.
That's right.
But we've got to lean on the supernatural at that point. Do not be Romans 12:1. Do not be conformed to the patterns of this world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So those are the important pieces to this. So yeah, you memorizing scripture, learning the stories, reading how Jesus did things, and understanding that. I mean, even Jesus, like, look, one of the most fascinating passages of scripture that Jesus did was at the end of his life, when he was the last week of his life. He goes into the temple and he chases out the money changers. And in one of the Gospels, he uses a bullwhip to do it.
Yeah.
It's crazy. So he's turning over tables. He's cracking bullwhips. He's doing his thing. And people are like, is he angry? Like, is he acting out? What is this? This is so... That's right. What happened to the hippie Jesus? You know? You've got to read the whole story.
Yeah.
Jesus wasn't acting out of anger. Although it does say he was indignant, but that word indignant was there is a righteous anger out of that, but he's not acting out of hatred or ignorance. A lot of anger comes from ignorance, right? For us,
yeah.
He's not acting out. He's doing he's teaching. He's teaching his disciples and he's teaching the people around about the importance of the temple. And he's teaching them. This is a sermon. It's a powerful sermon that he is doing, just illustration out there of teaching about prayer, about the role of the temple, all of this, and about that these folks had come in and had basically bastardized it. They have turned it into something else. They had turned it from a place of prayer and a place of communion with God to a place of robbery and thievery. And so when he does that, he's protecting. He's going into protection mode with the purpose of teaching, right? We can get, like, as long as our heart is right, we can make a point.
Sure.
We don't have to roll over. A good shepherd, though, a good shepherd follows the good shepherd. And just watch how Jesus handles things. His enemies. Like, he stands up against false teachers, but those who would be considered enemies of Israel, like the Samaritans or others, he reaches out to them, he loves them, and he's there for them to bring change to their lives too. We're all in this to lift high the name of Jesus, and you know, that's our goal, that's our role, and it requires us to be like Jesus, and that's the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, just a couple of random thoughts. You know, I think as I hear you talk, you know, one of the things that I wanted the gym to stand for, and now not just the gym, but anything that I'm involved with, is like I'm literally standing on the shoulders of giants that have come before me and have poured into me and given me tools, whether it's just teaching people how to write good programs so that we can keep people safe, good nutrition protocols, how to build culture and community, like all those different pieces with what it means to steward our responsibilities well. And I think it is hard. It is hard, but I think everything that we want is on the other side of hard work.
It is.
Right.
Yeah. Anything worthwhile is going to be hard, I think, you know. It's there's nothing wrong with hard work.
Right.
You know? I was thinking about this. So I've always been a big guy. Like, even as a kid, I was a big kid. I've only been really good at 3 things in life. And that's eating a lot of bad food, being extremely lazy, and eating a lot of bad food. I mean, those are my natural things. The other stuff, to being healthy, to being a good husband, to being a good father, to being a follower of Jesus, to being a good leader, to taking care of my body, to being a good community person.
Sure.
All this, that's hard work. Yeah. It's hard work, but that doesn't mean it's not necessary and that it's not good. And that it's not life-giving. Just because it's hard doesn't mean anything. Like, hard work is fine. It was hard work for Jesus to roam around for 3 years with his buddies, healing the sick, casting out demons, going to the cross. You don't think going to the cross wasn't hard for him? He spent a night in the garden, let this cup pass from me. But then Friday becomes Good Friday, and it's the best for us. That's part of his mission.
And how ironic it is Friday.
Yeah, it is Friday.
Right.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, and it goes back to the default setting. And the gym is such a sacred place for me.
Yeah.
we can get into this some other time, but the gym changed my life.
Yeah.
Like it was like God was like, hey, giving you one last shot.
Yeah.
If you fail at this, I'm done with you.
Wow.
Probably, I don't think he said that.
Yeah.
But that's what it felt like.
Yeah, yeah.
And over the last 15 years, really attempted to dedicate trying to be my best self.
Yeah.
And I try to be super cautious of how I say that.
Yeah.
Because it hasn't been, but probably the last 5 years that I've really tried to understand Christianity and tried to live through Christian values.
Yeah.
Got baptized again. And I'm like really working and living through that. And for me, it has been hard because of, and I say this, and I want to be cautious of how I say this. I feel like I've been reading. So I read this year I've read Sacred Fire by Ronald Rawheiser. Yeah. Just read Water from a Deep Well.
Okay.
And one of the pieces that came out of that was they talked a lot about spiritual maturity. Right. Talked a lot about what the early martyrs and the ancient desert fathers had to do to live out their faith. Yeah. And I feel like so much of what we're living in now is almost like people talk about the end times. It's like, these are the easy times.
That's right.
That's what it feels like. And it's like, what are we sacrificing?
That's
like,
right.
What are we doing? Yeah. And so
that's a great question. The problem is it's in America, and say what you will about whatever, but in America, we live on an island. We do. I mean, think about, you go over to the Middle East, you look at Christians there, you look at Christians in other places in the world where they're being truly persecuted. Man, they're the most joyous people you'll ever meet. Those Christians are, because for them it is life or death. They are literally sacrificing everything to follow Jesus, and they are the most joyful people you'll ever meet in your life. Over here, we've got so much material stuff. We're an island. We're separated from the rest of the world in many ways. We can get caught up in our material comforts and things where and it really does. It's just it's easy for us to be Christian over here. And I know people are going to say, well, it won't always be that way, but right now it is.
That's right.
Right now it is.
Yeah.
And it has been for as long as our republic has been here. I would say a couple things I try to do is understand that there are people who are hurting. So what can I do to alleviate that hurting, that suffering, that whatever's going on in their lives from all stripes? This is a good question. And I don't know if I really have the good answer to it other than just open up your eyes to what's going on in the world, what's going on in your backyard. Try to alleviate as much suffering as possible. And don't, understand that, let me say this. A lot of people, they have very good means. If they don't have good means to their life, it's because they're so in debt and, they're hurting that way. But most people have, good paying jobs and they can take care. How can you be a sacrificial Christian with the things that you have to help make our community a better place for everybody, not just for people like us, but people for everybody? What can we do to do that? Most people, when they think of sacrificing like our possessions or our money or things like that, it causes a little tinge with it. Like we don't want to, like it gets us to our side or a little bit or what. We don't really want to do anything with it. And the reason behind that is we have a security issue. And it's not that we're not secure. It's that we've made an idolatry, I think. Should I say this? An idolatry out of security. Yeah. Of what we think is secure. Ask any person who's a go-getter, who is hard worker, why do you sacrifice so much for your work? And they're going to say, I want to be sure I have enough. I want to be sure my family has enough. Yep. Security. Amen. I get that. That comes from a place of brokenness and of fear. Go all the way back to Genesis chapter 3, when Adam is cursed after the fall. It says that by the sweat of your brow you will work the land, and it'll be hard for you to produce vegetation and food and stuff like that. That sweat of the brow, it's an anxiety text. You'll be anxious because you're going to work the ground, and it will provide for you, but you're going to be worried if it will. It's a security issue.
Right.
I think for us in America today, us in our community today, sacrificing is all about asking the Lord, Lord, what do you want me to give? What do you want me to do? Lord, push me to be obedient to you. For somebody, it might be to tithe for the first time in their church. And maybe not 10%. Maybe it's going to be 3% because they are so in debt.
Just something.
This is all they can do.
That's right.
But for somebody, it's going to be, hey, I really need to see what I can do to really make Dublin a better place, or make Lawrence County a better, like, just what can I add to it? What can I give back to this? And that's just between that person and the Lord.
Yeah, and I love that. And one of the things, I struggle with all the. I want to make sure that everybody knows that I do not have it figured out.
Yeah,
and I struggle with all everything, the materialistic. Like, do I have enough? What does enough look like? How do I provide for my family? All those things. And I think what I bring it back to so much of my work during the week is, am I creating disciples in my house?
There you go. Yeah.
And
right.
I try to bring it back to that.
That's right.
And am I doing so Palmer is, I love both of my children.
Of course.
Palmer is the sweetest.
Yeah.
So we just had book fair 2 weeks ago, and he came home and he said, Daddy, I got you he's like, no, I want to get you a book. And so anyways, he wanted to get me a devotional that me and him could do together.
How about that?
And so we do a devotional.
That's awesome.
Every night. And so
that's awesome.
That has been a really cool piece for he and I to have that connection every night before we go to bed.
Yeah.
Sometimes Brady will hop in with us. Sometimes he won't. But that's something that Palmer and I now do together.
Yeah.
And then, I think that's just, I think sometimes we can, as humans, we can make it too complicated.
Oh, yeah. Yes. This is that, there's a great book. It's not a Christian book, but it's a great book. It's called Atomic Habits.
James Clear.
Yeah, James Clear.
Love it.
It's the small stuff, right? Yep. Start with the small thing.
1% better.
The 1% better every day. That's the stuff, right? Like, that's where you begin. It's the same thing at the gym, right? It is the 1% just getting stronger, better, doing this thing one little bit at a time. That's true in the Christian walk. It's am I today 1% closer to Jesus than I was yesterday? If the answer is yes, keep moving on. You're doing great.
Love it.
And so that's in everything. That's in your sacrifice. It's in everything. Eventually, you'll be there. Like, if you keep going,
that's right.
You're going to be fine. But that 1%, I just want to be 1% closer to Jesus.
Habits compound.
Yeah.
Love compounds.
100%.
Jesus compounds.
Jesus,
right?
The whole thing does.
That's right. We talk about compound interest.
Yes,
everybody knows about that.
Right.
But rarely do we talk about
this compounding of relationship with God, and that's what it is. It's like for me, I've tried every diet fad there is. I've done everything, but the problem with diet fads is that they're too big. They're too big, right? They're just way too big.
That's right.
They're not incremental.
Whenever you say too big, what do you mean?
Sorry. Like the change.
Okay.
The change is too big.
Yes.
It is no carbs. It is all meat. It is no meat. It is
75-day hard.
Yeah, it is.
Whatever it is.
Whatever. It is, or intermittent fasting. I've done intermittent fasting a little bit, but it is huge chunks. Like, it is such a big thing. And so I realized that the problem with those things that are too big or massive is that once you fail the little thing, then you're like, but I can't reach that goal now. And so you give up. They're the easiest things to give up on. So do the 1% thing, because it's not that hard. And you got a little reward. You get to that, I'm 1% better. I'm 1% stronger. I'm 1% closer to Jesus. All right, now tomorrow, I'm going to try to be 1% even better. It's smaller increments. I think that's the way to go. I think, I've had to remind myself of this. I've got a goal weight in mind for myself. I don't know if I'll ever, just kind of body type, I don't know if I'll ever hit it. I've hit kind of like a little plateau.
Sure.
But I can feel myself still getting stronger, which means I'm building muscle, which means, and I know all the science, muscle's more dense than fat or whatever, heavier than fat, whatever. So I'm replacing fat with muscle, and so I've hit this plateau. Used to, I would have the goal in mind, and I'm like, and it's a huge goal. Now, what I'm trying to do is just like, but do I feel a little bit stronger?
Yeah.
You know, am I sleeping a little better? Are my clothes fitting just a teeny bit better than they were yesterday? If that's the case, all right, I'm fine. I've almost kind of taken my eyes off the end goal.
And everything that you just mentioned were objective measures for me, by the way.
Yeah.
Right. And so much of what's going on with the culture right now is like subjective. Like, how do I feel today?
How do you make me feel today?
See,
and I'm not a feelings guy. I'm not. It's so funny.
I gotta be super cautious.
I'm not a feelings guy. I'm a more objective guy. And
100%.
But that is,
Well, can I say this too? So just in terms of objective measures as it relates to body weight, because we will have a lot of people that will listen to this and they're thinking about body weight as a metric of a key performance indicator. But I do think what's super important is if you have a body weight measurement in mind or a metric, you should also have a movement metric.
Right.
Comparatively speaking.
Yes.
Does that make...
Yes. And so my movement metric is a pull-up.
100%.
I have never been able to, I still can't do, after a year, I still can't do a pull-up. Now, part of that is it's a lot of weight to pull up. But my shoulders, working those, whatever these muscles are back here and all that kind of stuff. But I tell you what I can do now that I couldn't do a year ago. I can do half a pull-up.
Bam.
I can do half a pull-up. And I can knock out lat raises or whatever those things
That's
are
right.
called.
Lat pull-ups.
Yeah, lat pull-up. I can knock those out.
Yep.
So I can tell I'm getting stronger. And even the other day, I was like, as I was trying to do a pull-up, I was sitting there going, man, if I could just get over there's this little bit of this catch right here. If I can get over that, I'm up, baby. I'm up.
It's coming.
So
it's coming.
So I can tell. So you're right. That's objective stuff. That's the part. It's a movement goal. So I've got a weight goal, but my movement goal is to be able to. I've told Mitch, I do one pull-up. I'm taking y'all to lunch.
I love that. Well, we don't have to wait. We don't have to wait till you do that. We need to go to lunch anyways. All right. So in closing, anything else that you would like to say? I mean, where can people find you?
Yeah. So I'm at Pine Forest Methodist Church, over in the Pine Forest neighborhood here in church, and you can, in Dublin, and you can find me there. I'm also on Facebook at Maddocks and on Twitter and or X and Instagram, same at Maddocks. You can just come by the church. Just come to the church and hang out. Come take me to lunch. Not on a Monday. I won't go to lunch with you on a Monday. But come hang out with me, and I'd love to see you. And man, this has been great. I'll just say, I've said this before, I really do think CrossFit, doing this journey has changed. It certainly has changed my life, spiritually, leadership wise, health wise. It probably will have saved my life, just health-wise, but also other stuff, being able to renegotiate my calendaring, scheduling, and all that kind of stuff too. So I appreciate you and Mitchell and the whole team and the family. It is a family. I love them. I'm excited about this new building going up and seeing what that's going to look like. I was telling Eric a while back that I'm excited about showing up and working out and then going to sit out on the patio and write my sermons while I'm there, man.
Dude, I have gone by there the last 3 days because we're getting. I mean, they're making some progress, and so they're putting up, just to kind of give people an idea. So the roof of the building is now kind of going on, and
that's awesome.
I just drive through there, and I'm just visioning people in the gym and you. One of the things that's really been inspirational and encouraging for me was, the reason we're sitting here today is because about a month ago, you came up to me and was like, listen, man, it's been a year. I'm celebrating my year anniversary, and I would like to share, my story. And so, one of the things, we've been wanting to do this for a long time. And so I just think that at the end of the day, we have so many opportunities in our life, whether you are leading a church or whether you're leading your family or you're leading a gym, you have so many opportunities to encourage people. And you never know what that one word is or that one phrase is. Right. And when you came to me, I was like, okay, I have to make this happen no matter what. Yeah. And so we put the wheels in motion, and I just want to tell you, thank you for your support, your love, your encouragement, your friendship. Yeah. And I'm extremely grateful that you would even give us the time of coming. And I'll tell you this too. So I would not be a good friend if I did not tell the Martins thank you.
Yeah.
So to Neil, to Olivia, to Annie. That's what I call her. Her name's Anna Kate, but I call her Annie. And to Tyler, they have been huge supporters of ours for a long time. And that's our connection. We're super grateful for them, and we love them, and we love you, and so thank you.
Love you too. And I'm waiting for my merch to come out, by the way.
Oh, it should be at the gym.
Yeah. So the no, the merch. So you may not remember this, but when I first started, it was right when I started going to the classes at 8:00, and I was dying, man. Y'all were killing me out there. And I remember laying on the ground after a big whatever workout, and I said, I am so glad I know the Lord, because this is hell. and Mitchell was like, that's got to be a T-shirt.
I love it.
So anyway, I'm waiting for my merch to come in. I'm just letting you know. But no, it really is a blessing to me, and a blessing to my family too. And it really is great. Like I just, I don't know. The Lord has used this in so many powerful ways for me. Y'all's friendship, the community, the love, the support, and it's just awesome. And I've learned a lot, not just about myself, but like it's no accident that I'm doing this and I'm doing the stuff through Narrowgate and some other things all at the same time. It's kind of clicking things together that I've always known about, but never have really experienced and been able to lead in. And now I can, and it's awesome.
Yeah, it's cool. It's like opened up portals,
but it's all,
and it's connected them.
It's connection. Yeah,
right
there's all these
at the end of the day, and that's cool.
Right.
Well, cool.
Yeah.
Well, listen, thank you again.
Yep.
You're the best, dude.
Yep.
We'll have
You
to do
too.
it again.
Absolutely. Thank you.